Coming from Detroit, where people worked in the automobile industry or they built houses, didn't have much, not much creative outlets. You got to New York and there were people who were playwrights and poets and people who wanted to write books and paint and do sculpture. And for me, this was like, just didn't exist. So you were finding and meeting people who would just come in from all these places and telling you what's going on, different bands. The radio was obviously a lot better than it ever was, so you could get turned on to all kinds of new music. To come to New York, it was like, it was a legend. There were a few legends at the time. There was little information. It was filtered through. There wasn't the kind of information systems that we have today. So music would filter out of New York or to Detroit. It would take 6 months. Somebody would have a single record and you'd go over to their house and listen to it. And maybe someone had a tape recorder. You could get a copy of it by sticking a microphone in the speaker. Almost legendary stories of Bob Dylan coming to New York from Minnesota with a guitar, and he became famous overnight, and you're listening to his records and you're buying a harmonica and you think you sound like him, and maybe I could do that. Kids in every spot of the United States, and I imagine all over the world, who are trying to get turned on to that kind of thing, those kinds of sounds, and being creative and having control over your creativity. It wasn't expensive. All you need is a guitar and a harmonica, or just a guitar, and you could sit in your room and write something. You didn't need thousands of dollars of equipment, and you didn't need to be trained on something that was complicated. Art music was phenomenal. Besides what was going on in the Village, this was the year that Sgt. Pepper had just come out. And previous to that, the Stones, and there was just a lot of opening up of people's minds and all that with drugs and exploration of art. So it wasn't just unique to what was down in where I was, but it was all over. And New York was totally accepting and supportive in its own hard way. It wasn't easy to live here. It wasn't cheap, but you could do it. And there was people here to support you to do that. And that was just another extraordinary thing about the city and what was going on. It might have been going on in California, I suppose, other places, but I don't think it was to any degree what it was like here. It's just starting to blossom, and more kids were interested in music, and again, there was people writing their own songs, and they were getting maybe less political and more introspective and drawing on other really interesting influences, and it was all great.